Welcome everyone to a new episode of the Haptics Club podcast. I'm Brian from SenseGlove and I'm joined with the Haptics crew, Ashley from Titan Haptics, Manu from Unity and Eric from Razer. The Haptics Club is a team of people that have a passion for haptics. Our goal is to raise awareness of the amazing tech and people in haptics and to foster interesting discussions on the subject. Today, we've got a very special guest. His name is Simon Frübis. He's an XR interaction designer at DoublePoint. You might know his work from the amazing interactions DoublePoint provides for XR applications. Before we jump into today's episode, we'd like to share our sponsor, Frübis. Frübis develops a wide range of acoustic sensors and haptic actuators for all types of industries and applications. Make sure to check them out. What you also should check out is thehapticsclub.com. We have many blog posts on there featuring articles from your favorite hapticians. And summer is coming up. We have some sweet t-shirts laying around, so make sure to check that out. And I think that's it for an intro for today. Simon, welcome at the Haptics Club. We're very happy to have you today. How are you doing?
Hi, nice to meet you, and thanks for having me. I'm doing very well, tuned in from Berlin, and yeah, I'm excited for your questions.
That's awesome. We're very excited to have you. So to start, can you tell the audience a bit about yourself?
Yeah, sure. I'm Simon, interaction designer, especially for spatial computing. I love everything around hand interactions, hand gestures, and feedback combinations of sound, vision, and haptics. I studied in my master's interaction design, and I started there with my thesis to explore multisensory feedback, this whole field, and how to get most out of it. I'm also kind of a tinkerer and prototyper, but my main background is design. And I think since 3 years or 4 years now, I'm shifting a bit more towards prototyper and getting into the waters of development in different fields. And now at DoublePoint, I'm working with we're working on input solutions to solve some input problems of XR, but also IoT. And we just launched our first product. It's a developer kit for B2B. It's called the DoublePoint kit, and it's able to detect touch events of your finger, like these pinch and hold, and just via a neural network that runs on the watch. Maybe we can go into details later.
I just wanted to ask you, it's an amazing product, amazing features. Can you run us through a bit as a user in XR? What do those features look like? What do they feel like? How does it work?
Basically, our wrist-based our wristbands can detect this, as I said, this tap gesture of your finger and thumb, and there's a micro vibration that happens, and our watch or wristband can filter out this subtle movement, or this subtle movement that the sensors detect. We use IMU and PPG. It's also known as the heart rate sensor, and IMU is the acceleration sensor and the gyroscope and stuff. And we use machine learning and neural networks that run on the watch to filter out this specific moment of touch and also this specific moment of release. So that enables drag and drop interactions just with a wristband. So you don't need cameras or anything, no computer vision, no expensive hardware that takes battery or drains battery. You have an unlimited field of tracking, because you have not this camera field of tracking. You can interact even behind your back, wearing gloves. You can all these downsides that you have from hand tracking, they just don't exist anymore with our wristband. And for anyone who want to try that out, we have a free app on the Google Play Store that you can install. It's called WowMouse. It's ready for Google Pixel Watch 2. I think 1 is in beta, and all the Samsung Galaxy watches. And you can connect it to any device as kind of a Bluetooth mouse. And also your hand movements can be tracked. So you really can have a kind of a spatial mouse. And it feels a bit like, how to describe? It feels like like telekinesis, or like you have the Force from Star Wars, where you can move your arm from distance and just tap and then press buttons for that. Yeah, it makes, yeah, it's quite fun to connect it, for example, to your iPad and activate assistive touch feature, and then you can just swipe left and right through your home menu, and yeah, that is the experience. This app called WowMouse is basically a sandbox, or you can use it as a sandbox tool, either to test it in mouse mode or in touch SDK mode. We provide for developers this touch SDK with supporting Python, Unity, and JavaScript. And with that, you can basically get access to the raw data on the watch, and also our tap events that we detect with the machine learning model. And yeah, with that, you can implement it to any application, any VR, AR, or also IoT application. And yeah, so the limits are endless. And yeah,
Yeah.
and at DoublePoint, I'm basically the client and creating demos for that. I'm using basically our SDK and creating interactions, exploring menus, hand menus, or how we can interact with operating systems in space. Yeah, using that input.
It's awesome. For anyone who hasn't seen it yet, I would definitely look it up. As you said, it is some type of telekinesis or magic. You know, you see interactions happening without devices or tracking technology
Yeah.
that were not possible before. So it is really fun to see. I can imagine that, you know, designing outside of an archetype that is already there. I mean, eye tracking has been there, but not really been implementing a ton yet for really the interaction side of things. Yeah, I was wondering, what does it take from a designer to make a good interface with a tap and yeah, gaze interaction like you have?
Good point. Good point. Gaze is one of the powerful use cases in combination, because you, as you saw on Vision Pro, they use it as main interaction modality, gaze and pinch. And with our technology in combination with eye tracking, it feels magic. Like you can reduce the tech that is needed on your glasses. Basically, you would just need eye tracking technology and our wristband, and then you can interact extremely fast, like, and also in a very comfortable position. Like you can have your hand on your lap, under a blanket or something, and you don't need to care about this field of tracking anymore. It reduces cognitive load a lot, and yeah, interacting with your eyes. We have apps where you can test it on Quest Pro. It feels just like the most natural and fastest way to interact with interfaces, and it keeps really in general the cognitive load at the lowest barrier, and it's like that there is no input there, it's just your hand. And I feel like that is where input should be like, and where input should, what goal it should be, the goal of input, that it gets invisible. And I think that's also a bit the philosophy of natural user interfaces, that they get as close as possible to human interactions that we have in our physical world. And yeah, with this DoublePoint tag, I felt like we get very close to that, and in combination with eye tracking, even more. And yeah, I wish that everyone can give it a shot and could try that. But yeah, you need eye tracking technology, and you need our wristbands, but it's not too far away. You just need a Galaxy Watch basically, and a Quest Pro. You can buy both of these devices.
I
And
mean, it's already commercially available, right? So if you really
yes,
want to, you can get your hands on it. I
yes,
mean,
absolutely.
what I find really interesting is that you see in those XR developments and trends that hand tracking is already getting a lot of grip, right? You can see already most of the major headsets, they have hand tracking integrated already. If you look at the Apple Vision Pro, they don't have any controller there. It's just the hand tracking. What
Yeah,
I personally already found with interacting with the Quest is you don't really think about it, but even without controllers, having your hands in front of you all the time while interacting, over time it gets quite demanding physically, just holding
Yeah,
your arms out in front of you all the time. And your
absolutely.
solution is something that taps
Absolutely.
perfectly into that.
Yeah, yeah. Glad you mentioned also that. That's also a big gain point, I would say, of our technology, because you don't get this so-called gorilla arms and or this arm fatigue. Yeah, because you can have your hand in a rest position, you can lower it down on the table or wherever you have it, and yeah, and then it's just not straining for your arms, and I feel like especially that thing, that kind of arm fatigue, and also all fatigues of muscles, that they shouldn't be there. Also with Vision Pro, you have this neck fatigue where because of the weight of the headset, that is such a downer for everyone who I'm talking to. And I think these physical limitations, they shouldn't be there. And our input solution is solving that nicely. You don't need controllers, you don't need hand tracking technology, and you are, yeah, unlimited. You can interact without limits in space. And yeah, that's quite nice.
I agree. So what I do think though is for example, the mouse and the keyboard for us, they are on our desk. We can lean our arms on our desk, and it's not really demanding to use. Maybe there is a bit of a bigger learning curve there. But what you do get with controllers or a computer mouse is that there is, of course, a big series of opportunities, different types of interactions that you can facilitate as a designer. Think about scrolling, think about zooming, think
Yeah,
about toggling, untoggling, double tap.
yeah.
What are the limitations, but also the big gains from your newest interaction methods?
These kind of interaction patterns are basically on my desk to figure out what kind of how can we replicate most of the needed interactions with our input technology, because for example we don't have two hands to interact. So how can we manipulate values to, for example, adjust a volume slider, and how can we make most use of the sensors, of the built-in sensors of this watch. For example, rotating the arm or the wrist feels very natural, and also the sensor can track this in a very how to say in a very high resolution in ticks, but it feels very smooth when you use this rotation as method to adapt sliders, or as method to scroll through a rotary menu. Yeah, these kind of things are new, where we need to think through what makes most sense, what is quickly accessible, what feels natural, and how can you accomplish every interaction with one hand. It's a challenge, definitely, and sometimes it feels like we have to step a bit back from this natural UI paradigm or idea or philosophy. I would love to have two hands, for example, to zoom and scale things. That feels very natural because yeah, you stretch things out and they get bigger. And we have to figure out a way how to do it with one hand. I think Apple has this little corner, this white corner, where you can just look at it and just drag and drop with one hand. Things like that will be definitely possible with our wrist input. And yeah, it's basically just a matter of time until we have all patterns mapped to our new input modality. Yeah, I'm very excited to explore more in that field. Especially also, I'm excited about quick interactions with smart glasses. When more and more lightweight headsets come to the market, like at the moment, I'm wearing the Ray-Ban Meta to explore it a bit and see where we have use cases in our everyday life and where things are heading with these kind of smart glasses, and I feel like there is a very bright future for these kind of assistants directly on your head that you have always on, and exploring quick interactions with wristbands can get very powerful. It feels like you're interacting and nobody notices that you are actually adjusting volume, that you are going to the next song, or that you're calling your friend or whatever, or activating the voice assistant. That could start to get pretty interesting. Yeah, there are also so many use cases that pop up with this AI assistant, that yeah, I feel like it's opening up a new Wild West. We already have a Wild West with VR, AR, and now in combination with AI and smart glasses, it starts to get more and more interesting. And yeah, I'm pretty hyped around that, and to figure out new quick interactions with our input. Yeah, I don't know if I answered your question. I hope so.
You did answer my question. I think it's yeah, I completely agree with the vision, the way we start integrating that tech within our daily life, natural interactions. I didn't even notice the that you were wearing the Ray-Bans. Can you imagine?
Yeah.
Still, we're working with a wearable wristband, as you explained earlier, which is of course one of the things that is in the way of haptics. You need something physical, and you have a wearable on the body to apply some haptics. So my question is, are there any haptics integrated in the interactions you guys are facilitating already?
We are exploring that, not on our prior one, but I feel like I'm very passionate about it, and I see a combination, or at least I feel like that the wrist is a perfect place to integrate haptics in a non-obtrusive way, or in a very subtle way, and it still gives you this amount of feedback that is good enough to communicate between human and machine. And I explore from now and then with Haptics, Haptic Labs and Haptic Labs Studio. It's from my friend Thomas Müller. Maybe you know him. I guess you know him. Yeah, I'm having the wristband of him in my hand, and it's a wonderful toolkit to explore haptics on your wrist, and to design haptic patterns and get a sense for it, and also connect any type of actuators to it. Like my recent explorations, I connected a DualSense actuator from a PlayStation 5 controller to this wristband, and it felt so good when I touched a button, like with direct manipulation in VR. When I touched a button for like touching it, pressing it, and releasing it, and I played with pattern combinations, and it felt so good. And just this little, I feel like it's a very sleek setup, and we could replicate this in our DoublePoint kit. We just need to add an actuator inside of it. And most of smartwatches, like the Google Pixel that I'm also wearing at the moment, running WowMouse, also has an actuator. Also, Apple Watch has an actuator in it, and so it's not too far away. It makes sense to give haptic feedback on your wristband, and it's already possible now. But it is still a challenge, because we need to find a way how to mute our machine learning model in the moment of when the haptic pattern triggers, because it also triggers false positives. And that's basically one of our main tasks, to filter out false positives. And because the micro vibration that happens between your finger and thumb is very similar to a lot of haptic patterns that the watch triggers. And but in theory, we have lots of solutions in mind how to fix that. It's basically just muting our model for the time where the haptics are triggering, and it's just a question of figuring out the pipeline between the haptics design tool, or the haptics file that is running, and our model. But for now, it's not priority because we have lots of other things, burning topics that needs to be solved. But it has definitely a lot of potential, and it's just a question of priority and software, because hardware is already kind of solved with what we have on the market.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I'm pretty excited to explore this combination. And until we get there with our with DoublePoint, in my free time, I sometimes explore how to combine it already now with the combination of haptic labs and our wristband. Yeah. Yeah,
Cool.
right.
We have the same actuators in our drawers, I think. I also used to play around with those. So,
Probably. I also have here the Taptic engine from Apple and an
mhm.
L5
Yep.
from Lofeld, ex
Yep.
Lofeld. And what is this? This is yeah, I don't know the name of it. It's a square one. But
Hmm.
yeah, and an AdSense one here that are my favorites that I usually have for
That,
testing.
that's awesome. Really insightful also to hear how that challenge of integrating haptics has such a counter sides to the machine learning and registering part
Yes.
in your product. I can totally imagine.
Yeah.
I'm wondering though, for a new type of interaction that you're facilitating, where do you see most potential for haptic applications?
Mm, I think I think it gets very powerful in combination with sound, and every button should have a natural matching sound sample and also a matching haptic sample, especially when you are interacting in midair. This is something that gets an extreme high importance, in my opinion. It makes your UI much more real when you can touch it and you get from the machine a feedback that is very similar to a real button or something like a real button. It doesn't have to match like a real button where you have also the force feedback, but it definitely gives something back that is needed. um, when I first explored with Quest 2 or 1 mid-air interfaces, I really felt like there's missing something. There's something important, some important feedback sense that is missing. And when I first touched this vibration or vibrotactile feedback on a wrist, I felt like that is already something good enough that should be explored. And yeah, I feel like when you combine it in a good way with sound and vibration, it makes your eyes very real. And also when you are, for example, rotating through rotary menus and giving haptic feedback and sound feedback through every step, that can make your UI much more real and sophisticated. And yeah, I feel like that should be a standard for every future UI that is built, or every operating system that's going to be built. But it probably takes some time because we first need to figure out visual and audio, and then haptics is, I think, the third priority. But I guess it will come, and yeah, it will be probably a standard that will be in all good interfaces. And yeah.
Totally agree, Simon. Thank you for that. So we see within the XR industry that many new technologies are emerging, and of course, artificial intelligence seems to be a game changer as well. Do you have a vision on how AI will further develop or improve XR applications, or do you have any examples that maybe you guys at DoublePoint are using it to your advantage?
Yeah, I feel like for haptics could, or the process of designing haptics could benefit a lot from AI, because yeah, designing haptic patterns for a whole game could be so much work that could also be extremely inefficient for, or costs inefficient. And having an AI that analyzes your audio output and also maybe the interactions that happen. So it basically interprets the events and the audio and creates the matching patterns, and that you just have at the end one button that you press and say generate haptic patterns, and then the haptic designer just adjusts some of the most used patterns, and the rest is auto generalized. And I think this makes much sense, in my opinion, to integrate it there. My friend Thomas, I don't know if I'm allowed to, but I think yes. It's just my friend Thomas from Haptic Labs. He's exploring ChatGPT integration, where you just explain your type of haptic pattern that you want, and it knows how to design patterns with Haptic Lab Studio, and just gives you the piece of code that you can then transfer into your design tool. And with that, you don't need to design everything from scratch, and you get basically help from ChatGPT. And yeah, I'm very looking forward to test this. It's in a very early stage. I just saw it on his computer, but yeah, I think these are the first steps, and we are not too far away from that. We have now the tools in our environments, and it's just also their question of time until somebody prioritizes that and implements it into our pipelines. And I think also the people from Lowfeld are doing a great job with a Haptics Studio at Meta, and integrating there, or creating a design tool to build haptic patterns for games with the focus on controllers. And yeah, I'm also very curious and excited what they come up with, and when they will integrate some AI features to that.
Yeah, you can already see how much AI is doing for design tools in graphics, in video, interaction design as well. So can't wait to see that coming to haptics and yeah, XR as well. So let's quickly jump into the future of haptics. Fantasize a little bit, like what's coming up. Feel free to go a little bit crazy. What do you think that the biggest change in the XR industry will be in the coming 10, maybe to 20 years?
10, 20 years, that's a lot, especially because I feel like with AI we are moving in such a fast pace, and wow, 10, 20 years. I feel like haptics will be a standard, like audio, especially like I'm talking about spatial UIs. In general, I think this type of smart glasses will be ubiquitous. Like everyone will have some type of smart glasses, like they will have phones, and they will be connected to your wristbands, and you will have also some type of I would say you have environments like in your everyday life where you are commuting, you have this low-key wristbands. When you get home into your VR environment, you might have gloves, you might have vests that you put on and jump into VR chat, where you have a really, really immersive setup. And also designing haptics will be a breeze. You press just a button as designer, and AI will create the whole haptic patterns, where you just need to adjust some rough dots. And yeah, I think haptics will play a big role in creating extremely immersive experiences, especially in game, especially in navigating through UIs and making everything like crisp and satisfying as fuck.
Awesome. What in your opinion is the biggest hurdle we need to overcome as designers, or maybe people that work in the XR industry, haptics industry, to get there?
I think communicating haptics is a big issue, because you can only communicate the experience when you feel it. So you believe it when you feel it, and and yeah, it will be difficult. Like vision and audio have the benefit of you can share it on social media, on internet, and everywhere, because every device has a speaker, every device has a display, but not every device has an actuator or the actuator that you need for this experience.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that will be, I think it always is already now, it is a problem to grow or to make this haptic idea grow, because it's hard to communicate how beautiful it is in combination with audio and vision.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it might be a chicken egg problem. We need to wait until everyone has some kind of actuator in
Yeah.
their devices. So for people need to believe others that this is something that they need to try. I think we get slowly there with more rich actuators and controllers in your phone already. There are nice actuators inside where you feel like it's there. It makes it magic. The interaction on when you swipe left and right on your dating apps.
Mm-hmm.
And getting this more ubiquitous that people can try, and that you can communicate somehow haptics, that would be so nice.
Yeah.
Imagine you can communicate haptics on social media. Like you can create experiences, like immersive experiences, and people can just using WebXR, whatever, to try your immersive experience with haptics. That would be so nice. And I
Yeah.
think we are getting there.
The
Yeah.
most efficient way in the design process now is humming it to each other, but it doesn't really do justice, huh? When
Yeah.
you say that the vibration should be whoop whoop.
Yeah.
So I think, Simon, we're slowly getting to an end of the episode.
Yeah.
If the listeners want to learn more about you, Simon, or maybe about DoublePoint, where can they find you?
I'm on LinkedIn, Simon Frübis. We also have wonderful demos on YouTube. Just search for DoublePoint. We are also quite active on Discord, in our Discord channel. If you want to give it a try, this app called WowMouse, just search it on Play Store. And we are also active on Twitter. Just search for DoublePoint there, or Simon Frübis on Twitter. But I'm mostly active on LinkedIn. I try to get more into a habit nowadays. And yeah, that is me and us.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Simon. So sadly, this is the end of this episode. We really want to thank Simon for joining us today. For anyone listening, be sure to check out thehapticsclub.com and follow us on LinkedIn and X. Do you want an amazing conversation starter? Pick up a Haptics Club shirt, mug, or hat in our store at thehapticsclub.com/shop. And of course, catch all our amazing episodes on YouTube and on every major platform like Apple Podcast or Spotify. A big thank you to our listeners and supporters, and see you at the next episode. Bye-bye.
Goodbye. Thanks for having me.